When it comes to creative design, harmony and representation are alluring features. They create links between the way something looks and what something is. A finely engineered performance vehicle doesn't just look fast, it is fast. When the first smartphone was released, it didn't just look futuristic and advanced. It was. The form of these products are carefully crafted to speak on their function, as the world's leading brands understand the power of visual synergy in shaping perception. But humans are far more complicated than products. On the whole, we aren't fast or futuristic. And even when we are, those traits don't define us all on their own. And as men, we vary in our ideas, priorities, mannerisms, temperament, goals, behaviors, and lifestyles. These are some of the core components of a personality. All of these factors can be represented visually in a way that creates a unique look for a unique man. Today, For What is a Man will introduce you to the world of visual synergy and articulate just how beneficial achieving it can be. Visual synergy is incredibly rewarding, both for one's internal and external perception. Externally, it activates the psychological phenomenon known as confirmation bias in your favor. Confirmation bias involves a person only acknowledging evidence that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs. This can be a frustrating obstacle in the way of enlightenment and truth, but that's a conversation for another time. For now, let's discuss how we can use visual synergy to make confirmation bias a good thing. Let's say you're an aspiring painter. In the subjective world of art, an artist who looks like an artist, who looks creative and interesting according to mainstream perception, will likely create confirmation bias that their paintings are also creative and interesting. In the past, we have discussed that while looks are not the most important facet of success, they can certainly be of immense contribution to accomplishing greatness. Whether you're an artist or an entrepreneur, presenting yourself as someone who looks like they are capable of excelling in their field will never fail to bear considerable advantages, especially if you actually can excel in your field. But it's not all about how others view you. How you view yourself and how you feel about yourself on a day-to-day basis create a ripple effect by influencing your decisions, which influence, in turn, the course of your life. When you wake up with your hair a mess, in clothes that don't feel fresh after being slept in, with an appearance that has nothing to do with who you are and what you do, you absolutely do not have the same mindset and confidence as the version of you who is clean, rejuvenated, and styled in a way representative of who they are. When a lawyer whose work relies on values of deep knowledge and precise quick thinking has a sharp haircut and a finely tailored suit, not only are they perceived as more capable by others, but they enjoy the emotional satisfaction born from the alignment of the inner and outer self. It is incredibly empowering. You may not be a lawyer, and even if you are, that may not be a defining characteristic of who you are. So, rather than simply advising stylistic choices based on mere career, we will outline strategies for representing core personality traits one by one, allowing you to consider how you would represent your own unique personality in a visual sense. Let's begin with your temperament. Are you calm, excitable, aggressive, dynamic? One powerful way to visually hint at one's temperament is with shape and color. Show the world your relaxed, easygoing nature with garments that have a soft and rounded shoulder, plush fabrics, and whimsical patterns. Puffer jackets and bomber jackets often encapsulate the silhouette that I'm talking about quite well, while the classic Coogee sweater is a charming example of a whimsical pattern. A more aggressive or high-energy person would suit the opposite fit. Angular, sharp silhouettes hint at their disposition, with the structured shoulders and pointed lapels of a well-cut overcoat being one of our favorite recommendations to clients who want their style to scream confidence before they open their mouths. As Ye once said, "Before he speak, his suit bespoke." Behavior is multifaceted, so today we will focus on a very broad summary of behavioral traits. Most people behave either in a very calculated and organized way, or in quite a free and spontaneous way. We think that this should be a key consideration in the way one selects and maintains their hairstyle. There's something charming about a wild and free person with wild and free hair that echoes who they are. Likewise, an organized and tidy person would do well to communicate these values with organized, tidy, and smart grooming. Creating these connections really can make for a memorable character. A man's mannerisms define him. As William of Wykeham said, "For the manners maketh the man." If your manners are that of a polite, classy, and refined gentleman, then why not select a fragrance that echoes those values through your sillage? Prada L'Homme is a clean, fresh, and powdery iris fragrance that immediately evokes ideas of a man who takes care of himself and operates with elegance. If you're a riot with the ladies and attack life with an edge to your mind and a fire in your eyes, Tom Ford's Ebon Fume quite literally makes you smell like a delicious infusion of leather and smoke. If you think and act outside the box, behave as yourself, and represent your own unique insights and experiences, we recommend Guerlain's L'Homme Idéal, though we're sure you'd rather not listen to us. When it finally comes to career goals, we prefer to style gentlemen with a far more intricate understanding of how they connect to their field than merely by learning what industry they're in. For example, not all musicians should be dressed the same way. Their individual genre and the way they contribute to it are highly relevant factors. A disruptive, rebellious, and experimental musician will likely seek a different style to a mass-appealing, sweet, and wholesome performer. Likewise, a chef on the cutting edge of their culinary discipline will suit a different look to a chef focused on keeping traditions alive. The innovative chef will want a grooming style that shows their distinguished perspective on the world, whereas the traditional chef will be served well by a nationalistic and old-school look. Don't worry, we are well aware that each of these elements has a world of information associated with it, and a seemingly immeasurable number of factors that require meticulous consideration prior to deciding what's right for you. We look forward to discussing these concepts in much more depth within upcoming videos, and will be delighted to deliver on that promise to you. But what is a man without his word? If you're curious about how to represent your personality in a way that suits your body type, face shape, and occupation, stay tuned as our private image consultancy will soon be available to the public. If you're interested, join our waiting list in the description. Otherwise, we hope this video has encouraged you to consider who you are and how you can express that with style, grooming, and fragrance.